Hi class, in this lab we're going to set up a new tree domain. So this is my diagram. I'm just looking at the west site. I'm only dealing with this computer on this lab. So I've signed into ACE-IT already, and I can see that all my machines have hibernated. So I'm going to boot them on one at a time. I booted up. I don't know why that keeps coming up. I booted up DC1. Now I'm going to go to DC2. Power it on. Now I'm going to boot up child DC5. Next, I'm going to boot up child DC6. It's booted, but it's going to sleep, so I'm going to press Control-Delete to sign in. Using our standard password. First thing I'm going to do is assign the IP address and fix the host name. So the IP address is going to be, sorry, I'm zoomed into this one, 172.16.0.5, and the name will be tree-DC6. First time I sign into the machine, it takes a few minutes. The IP address is 172.16.0.5/21. That's 255.255.248.0. Our gateway, which we haven't configured yet, is 0.1. And our DNS servers that know about Contoso are 16.0.2 and 172.16.0.3. Next, I'm going to rename and reboot. Tree DC6. Tree-DC6, all lowercase. And let it reboot. I'm going to sign into the child DC real quick. Now, when I look at this child domain, I can see that it includes the parent domain name. That's what makes it a child domain. When we create a new tree domain, it doesn't include the parent name, like Microsoft versus MSN.com, Microsoft.com versus MSN.com. They're all part of the same forest, but MSN.com is a new tree under the Microsoft forest. Now, under MSN.com, I could have more child domains because that's starting a new tree, and under that tree I can have more child domains. So that's the difference between a tree domain and a child domain. A tree domain doesn't include the parent domain name. A child domain does. I could have child domains under my new tree, but for right now I'm just creating the new tree. I'm going to sign in after changing my host name to tree DC6, and we're going to install the Active Directory software. You can use PowerShell to do this. Gotta wait till the blue bar stops. Click Manage, Add Roles and Features. Active Directory Domain Services. Restart if needed. In this case, it is needed. After we promote it, it'll automatically restart. Click Install. This is going to take a few minutes, so I'm going to pause the video. Okay, it's done installing, so now I'm going to promote it to a domain controller. So we're going to add a new domain and a new domain controller to the forest. So this time, look how the menus will change. So when I choose tree domain, actually let me show you this first. So when I type parent domain, then underneath I put child, because it's going to append child to contoso.com. If I choose tree domain, we put contoso.com in the new tree. This is Microsoft's tree domain example, a data. So I have to put the fully qualified data, the fully qualified domain name. So contoso.com, adatum.com, and we need to supply the enterprise credentials, the enterprise admin, because this is the only account that can create new domains. If I was creating a domain controller for an existing domain, I could use that domain admin. But if I'm creating a new domain, I have to use the enterprise admin, which is the administrator account by default on the root domain. So I'm going to click OK. Next. It's trying to determine if that domain name is being used within this network, this physical network. That's my cat. I'm going to pause this while it's figuring it out. Oh, it's done. I'm going to see why this is occurring. I shouldn't be getting that error. First, I want to see if I can resolve the name contoso.com. I can. I'm going to assume this is a problem. I'm just going to press cancel. yes, and restart it. So we're going to create a new domain in an existing forest. It's going to be a tree domain. And the forest name is contoso.com. And the tree domain is adatum.com. I'm going to put in my enterprise admin credentials. So now I'm just going to reboot DC1 and DC2. In real life, these DCs were not designed to be hibernated. That's what I think the problem is. Actually, while I'm at it, I'm going to do the same thing for the child domain. Guys, to avoid this problem, shut down all the machines when you're done with the lab. Make sure you shut down the domain controllers last. Actually, shut down all the other machines first, but the domain controllers and the NAT. Then shut down the domain controllers, then shut down the NATs. The NAT should be the last thing that gets shut down. I'm waiting for DC1 to start up. So now I'm going to try this again with my tree domain. Do you remember when I told you not to join it to the domain? Because it just takes time to unjoin it. In 2019, I've seen this glitch before. The easiest way to solve it is I'm going to join this machine to the domain. This machine is kind of frozen. Going to go to local server. So basically, I'm going to sign in as the domain of the enterprise admin and then join it to the domain with that credential already signed in, and it alleviates this problem. I don't know why we have this problem, but we do. You might not have this problem. So when it reboots, I'm going to sign in as the enterprise admin and then promote it. That way, it automatically knows my user account information. Because I was getting an error saying it couldn't sign in. I'm going to go to other user. So now anything that I do I'll automatically be signed in as the enterprise admin. it'll actually unjoin it from the root domain before making it a domain controller. It's just an extra step, but I'm not sure why 2019 has this glitch. In 2016, we didn't have it. I'm waiting for the notification flag to show up so I can promote it. Promote the server to a domain controller. You can see that I'm already signed in now as the enterprise admin. I'm going to create a new tree domain. Adatum.com. See, it automatically discovered the forest because I'm signed into the forest. It's a weird glitch, but just have to deal with it. I'm going to pause the video while this is working out. Okay, it's on the next screen now. I already have a global catalog server on this machine, so it'll handle this entire site. So whenever someone from another domain queries something from a different domain, it'll contact that global catalog server. I have a spare global catalog server on the other side, over here on DC3 eventually. If I have too many global catalog servers, then it's going to create a problem where a replication problem. It's just going to absorb too much network bandwidth for no reason at all. So I'm going to go back to my console. I'm going to unselect global catalog and type in my recovery password for this domain controller. I'm just using our standard password. Click Next. Now, here we're running into this delegation issue again. So I'm going to go to the parent DC. Sign in. I'm going to launch the DNS utility when it comes out. I could launch it from here. Administrative Tools, DNS. So right now, if I look at the forwarders, it's going to send it to Google's DNS servers. So basically, if I have any name sent to this domain controller, this DNS server, that it can't resolve, it forwards it to Google. Well, the problem is, if someone sends a name for www.adatum.com, we don't want to send it to Google. We want to send it to that new tree domain. For the child domain, we created it under here, because child.contoso.com. We can't create it for a tree domain here, because if we do, it will be adatum.com.contoso.com. That's not the name of the domain. So what we have to do is configure something called a conditional forwarder. Meaning normally you forward out to your upstream servers if you don't know the answer. But for this namespace, adatum.com .com. We want to send it to 172.16.0.6. We want to send, 0.5. So normally, if it doesn't know the answer, we want it to send it out the internet. But for adatum.com, we want to send that anything that ends in adatum.com to this DC or this DNS server. So it's called a conditional forwarder. We have normal forwarders that if you don't know the answer, send it to the forwarder. Unless it ends in adatum.com, in that case, we want to send it to this DNS server. We want to store that in Active Directory, so all DCs in the force will have that information. Click OK. Now we can go back and continue. This will not create the forwarder. You have to do it manually, that conditional forwarder. So I'm going to click Next. So right now, this is pointing to DC1. If we send a request to DC1 and it doesn't know the answer, it's going to send it out. If we send a request to DC1 for this namespace, it's just going to send it back to my DNS server on this machine. It'll actually configure all the DNS server information on this machine. It'll first try to contact the parent domain. The parent domain is just going to send it back here, and it'll configure it here. So it's kind of like a loop. It's doing a prereqs now. I'm going to click Install and pause the video while this is working. Okay, it's done promoting. I'm going to sign in for the first time. It didn't work, so I'm going to do it again. It unjoined it from the domain, but it didn't make it a domain controller. Before I do this, I didn't want to do this yet, but I'm going to do it now just to another potential problem. I'm going to go to the parent DC. I'm going to go to DC2. I'm going to sign in. I'm going to go to Tools, Active Directory Users and Computers. I'm going to right-click my domain name and go to Operation Masters. I'm going to go to Infrastructure Operation Masters. The infrastructure master, and I'm going to explain this in another video, but the infrastructure master kind of does the same thing that the global catalog does, but for the domain. The global catalog will allow me to search for objects within the entire forest. And this kind of keeps track of objects within this domain. If you put your infrastructure master on the global catalog gets confused. So you never want to have your infrastructure master on a global catalog unless you have a global catalog server on every domain controller, which I said is unnecessary. This might be the reason why I'm having so much problems with the tree domain controller. So I'm just going to move it from DC1, that's my global catalog server, to DC2 that doesn't have global catalog installed. It's asking if I want to transfer it. I'm going to say yes. It was transferred from DC1 to DC2. Now it's on DC2. So I'm going to try to do this tree domain again. We have several operation master roles. I'm going to go through them on a separate video. It's important that you understand these. If I have a multi-domain environment, I do not want to put my infrastructure master on the same machine as my global catalog. So I moved it. Hopefully that'll clear up this problem I'm having. I'm going to try to promote it again. I'm going to create a new tree domain, contoso.com, and adatum.com. I don't know why I keep putting that A in there. Sign in with the enterprise admin's credentials. Hopefully I don't have to rejoin it to the parent domain. Notice that when it failed, when I booted back into it, it was no longer part of the parent domain because the promotion process unjoined it from the domain. So when you're doing this, you're probably going to make the same mistakes I'm making because you're following along. Or you might not have them at all. But if you watch the video first, move that infrastructure master to DC2. You have to do it from DC2. Sign it to DC2, go to Active Directory Users and Computers, and then transfer that master role. We have a total of 5 operation master roles. In the past, we called them FISMA roles. The new name for them is operation master. It's pretty much the same thing. So I'm on my global I'm going to unselect global catalog server because I have one on DC1. Yeah, if you're in a domain environment and things just generally don't connect and there's no explainable reason, it's most likely because your infrastructure master and your global catalog are on the same machine and you have multiple domains. Again, we did our conditional forwarder for adatum.com. Notice that once I move that master role, the infrastructure master over, I'm having less problems now. Now I'm going to choose install, pause the video, hopefully it'll work this time. Okay, I'm going to reboot this domain controller. It failed again. But look, it's saying the Visma role ownership could not be verified because its directory partition hasn't replicated successfully at least one of the replication partners. So basically, after I moved that infrastructure master role over, it wasn't able to find out where it was. So I'm going to try to reboot this DC, let it set for a few minutes, and hopefully the replication has occurred by the time I promote this one more time, hopefully. It's actually kind of good that I'm getting all these issues so you can see what you have to deal with. I'm waiting for the notification flag to show up. I'm going to add a new tree domain. To adam.com. Supply my enterprise admin credentials. I'm going to pause the video. Okay, so now I'm going to unselect Global Catalog. We've already done our conditional forwarder. Doing the prereq check. Done. So now I'm going to click install. Hopefully it works this time. I'm going to pause the video. So I got the error again. So what I'm going to do is reboot all my domain controllers one more time and try a fourth time. So I'm going to pause the video while I reboot DC1, DC2, and DC5. Okay, class, I rebooted DC1, 2, and 5. I'm going to try this again. I'm going to pause the video. Okay, I'm going to unselect Global Catalog and type in the password. I'm going to pause it while it's doing the prereq check. Okay, class, sorry, I forgot to unpause. I clicked install. Now it's installing Active Directory again. I'm going to pause it while it promotes it to a domain controller. It's rebooting now and looks like it was successfully promoted. So I'm just waiting to sign in. Okay, class, the machine is rebooted, so I'm going to sign into it. It's promoted. I can see the datum there. I'm going to check the DNS. I'm going to go to my forward lookup zone. I can see that's completely configured. It doesn't have the reverse yet, but it will be replicated to this machine eventually because I'm in the parent DC. I'm going to right click to reverse, go to properties. I can see that's going to be replicated to all DNS servers in the forest. Also, on the child DC in the last video, when I tried to change this, it was giving me an error. When I try to change this from this for Windows 2000 compatibility mode to this one, the normal replicate this zone to all DNS servers in this domain, it was giving me an error. I just let it set for a little bit, tried it again, and it worked. The thing about the labs that we're doing now, if you try to rush them too quickly like I'm doing, you have all kinds of problems. You just need to take your time, let it do its thing, and eventually everything will work out. These domains weren't designed to be set up in a couple hours. So right now I'm going to stop this video. I'm going to leave this network set, and hopefully full replication will occur by the time I do my next video. Thank you.